Hey everyone, my name is Mark Lipton. I'm an independent journalist currently investigating wage theft and other improprieties at Sherwin-Williams. I'm making this video just for Sherwin-Williams employees. My plan is to just take a few minutes and answer the most frequent questions I'm currently getting from you and then perhaps fill in a little bit more beyond that. I'm a former independent paint retailer. My great-grandparents opened a paint store in the Bronx, New York in 1907, which was in my family until I sold them in 2009. I've also been a executive at a paint manufacturer as well as a consultant, as well as my writing and other content. One of the most frequent questions that I get asked from Sherwin-Williams employees who are reaching out to me is, why am I doing this? Partially the answer is just that this is what I've always been doing and I'm not doing anything differently than I have at any time in my career, and that is just reporting on Sherwin-Williams. What's different now is the level of investigation, and the reason I'm doing this is because I believe that they are committing injustices against their employees. I believe that they are behaving unethically towards many of you, and if it turns out through investigation that that's true, then I want to report that here. And I've heard from a large number of you, and you make very serious accusations, which from the patterns that are forming, I think it's likely that wage theft is going on at Sherwin-Williams, and one of the largest companies in the United States, a member of the Fortune 500. They're probably a member of the Fortune 100. They're in the 30 stocks of the Dow Jones Industrial Average, has an ethical obligation to not just their consumers as well as their stockholders, but they also have an ethical obligation to their employees to engage in fair dealings. And I don't think that Sherwin-Williams always does that. I wrote in my blog a number of cases that Sherwin-Williams has been engaged in over the last, 20, 25 years, violations of different laws. The ones that I mentioned in my blog were some of the ones against you, against employees of Sherwin-Williams. $3.6 million fine that they paid to the employees from California. I also thought that John Maricas was unfair towards your collective bargaining units. And so that's why I'm doing this, because I think we can bring enough attention on this to make change to what I think is possibly a bad circumstance for a lot of paint people. And so here's another question that I get. This one's probably the most frequent, and that is, are your communications with me anonymous? And the answer to that is yes. And you're protected by two things. One is your First Amendment right to speak to me. I'm a journalist investigating wrongdoing. And so that means that the only way that I can be compelled to reveal my source is under order of a federal judge, and only under the circumstances where I would be held in contempt of court. Even then, I think I'd probably do the time. But nonetheless, the other thing that protects you is my reputation and my ethics. And I'm quite familiar with keeping secrets, and I'm comfortable doing it. And so who do I want to speak with? I want to speak with anybody who feels like they've been a victim of wage theft. Wage theft is work that you're forced to do without being paid. Overtime, you're forced to work without getting that rate. Wage theft could be a 48-hour work week, but you have to work 50 to get all of your work done. Wage theft is an employee has called out sick and you have to cover their schedule, been asked to close for 5 days in a row, but you're not going to get paid for it. That's wage theft. Every time that you can't take a break that you're due, every time that you work and don't get paid for that time, every time that you drive something from one store to another after you've clocked out, every time that you pick up something on the way in before you've clocked in, that's wage theft. Every time you're doing the work of Sherwin-Williams that you're not being paid for it, that's wage theft. And I'm of the opinion that the billion-dollar companies should not be fucking stealing from the hourly employees. And I understand the store managers, who are probably the biggest group of victims here, the store and the assistant store managers. I understand that you're not hourly employees, but you are hourly employees, right? And so if that's happening in one of the country's largest corporations, I want to expose that. And if it's happening in a corporation that's in my space, where I have this access, where I can create this opportunity, I feel like I have an obligation to do that. And I hope that you guys feel that same obligation. I hope that you guys hear this as a call to action and say, listen, I got to get in touch with Mark, because the more people I find that have been victims, the more likely we are to bring change to those circumstances. It's interesting to me that I'm not receiving calls from any of the collective bargaining unit employees. And that makes sense, because employees that are in a union that collectively bargain together have methodologies for protecting themselves against wage theft. But I think that because you guys are not, you're easy targets, you're easy victims of a greedy system. And it's been a greedy system at Sherwin-Williams. It's been a greedy and unethical system at Sherwin-Williams for years. The lawsuits, from the ones that I'm pointing out in my blogs, is mostly just to bring attention. But there's others. If you go to the site, dozens of cities and towns and environmental agencies have sued them for various violations of the laws, which they flout because these agencies are only able to levy fines of a few thousand, a few 100,000, or a few million. But that's not going to stop Sherwin-Williams, because they're making tens of millions on their wage theft against you in all likelihood. And it would cost them a fortune to fix this, and they don't want to pay it, because if they fix this problem with you guys, then they make less. They can't pay the same dividend. The stock goes down, and Heidi doesn't get to fly her plane as much. And that's what this is all about, is getting the people at the top their money. And so, to the extent that I can use this platform to stop that from happening, I'm happy to do it. And so, before I get going here, though, I want to say thank you for a few different things. Many of you have included some sort of message of gratitude for this effort. I am glad that I'm helping you find voice if that's happening. I also want to thank the large number of you who have reached out to share a specific story of something they're dealing with, wage theft or intimidation or unsafe working conditions. And this is not the first time that I've engaged people in this way. And so I'm aware that these are difficult calls. You don't know me from Adam. You need to share intimacies about how much you're making, how much you let your boss get away with, and none of that feels good or is fun to talk about. And so I know that these calls are tough sometimes, but I am really grateful to those of you who have overcome that and shared your stories, because it's really helping me deliver what I think is an important message, that Sherwin-Williams is not an ethical company and that they're not treating their employees fairly. And so thank you to all of you for letting me into the family this way, and I hope that this attention makes a difference to you and in your lives. There's a few different ways to reach me if you want to. Again, all of these are completely confidential. You can text me. That's the easiest way. It's 914-584-5889. You can email me. That's mdlipton@gmail.com. You can hit me up on LinkedIn. Search Mark Lipton Paint. You should be able to find me easy enough. And I'm figuring out the Reddit. So if you want to hit me up there as well, that'd be cool. Again, thank you so much, and I'm looking forward to hearing from more of you.